So the new and improved Arrowhead Studios actually gave us a stealth buff this last patch. That's right, no stealth nerfs. This time it was stealth buffs, which is insane to see how far we've come after the 60-day plan. In other news, the Helldivers are now fighting the Jetpack Brigade, and the community sentiment is that they're extremely fun. And I'll be mentioning an underrated weapon on the bot front that's also just perfect for taking down the Jetpack Brigade. I've also got some tips and tricks for tanks and cannon turrets on the bot front. Maybe look to include some of these weapons in your next loadout while we're doing this major order. And speaking of the major order, there is breaking news about these super powered defense missions that the bots are sending our way. We had a majority of divers on Mater Bay yesterday, but we weren't able to win the defense. And Eravin has come up with a plan to win this major order, since these defenses are unable to be completed right now. So with that being said, we've got lots to go over, and let's dive straight in. Now, first thing on the agenda is that the Airburst rocket launcher has received a stealth buff. This was found by a user, John Spreadsheet, in the main Discord. He was updating his spreadsheets, I guess, after the latest patch, and found that the Airburst rocket launcher shares the same explosive bomblet with the frag grenade. And when the frag grenade damage was buffed from 250 to 500, all the bomblets on the Airburst launcher effectively doubled in damage as well. Now, when I was trying out the Airburst launcher during yesterday's stream, I thought it felt pretty good. Now, is it my favorite support weapon in the game? No. But when I shoot it at groups of enemies, they actually die now, so that's pretty great. And this person on Reddit was actually showing it can consistently one-shot Hulks, shooting it between their legs. And while I play that footage, I've also just been playing footage in general using it, showing that it can actually kill gunships when shooting at them now. And the gunship one is huge for me because a lot of people thought that this was the anti-air launcher. Now, you do kind of have to lead your shots where the gunship is going to, because it definitely has to get direct hit to get killed by it. And in general, like I said, it's not like it's crazy strong or OP, but it doesn't feel useless anymore. It can actually kill the enemies you shoot at it. And it is better suited towards the bot front, given that the fights on the bot front are more suited at longer ranges. And if you liked the Airburst launcher before, you're definitely gonna like it a lot more now. If you felt that your Airburst was being more effective since the last patch where they buffed the frag grenades, this is why. And I'd like to shout out another YouTuber, Claysthetics, because he plays the Airburst launcher a lot. He played it ever since it came out when it was horrible. And he also mentioned he may be posting an Airburst launcher loadout for the bots. But in the meantime, he just plays with it a lot in a lot of his live streams. I'm gonna put his YouTube link in the description down below. So definitely recommend trying out the Airburst launcher. Make sure you bring a commando or an EAT to take out the tanks and the factory striders. And I also just wanna say it's so great we found stealth buffs this patch rather than stealth nerfs. These two patches in the 60-day plan have honestly restored a lot of my faith with Arrowhead, and I know that there are a few grievances still, like some people want the HMG and the Plasma Punisher reverted, but to me, these are kinda small issues where I feel as long as we keep leaving feedback on it, I feel pretty good that they will listen this time, and I am actually looking forward to future patches and updates for this game rather than dreading them. Come on, you gotta admit, you never thought we would find stealth buffs. You always thought it would just be stealth nerfs. All right, so next up we've got the Jetpack Brigade, but I quickly wanted to show off this cool helmet art someone posted on the Reddit, saying they'd like a war bond that made us look undead or some kind of apocalyptic themed, and I think this helmet looks insane, so I had to squeeze it in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. But shout out to Lonely Look in the comments of this Reddit thread, saying the cracks in the armor was inspired by Japanese art, where they repair broken pottery with gold and other materials, usually expensive metals. In the show, they had to upkeep their armor without the Empire, so they turned to kintsugi, which is what it's called. Regardless, I do love this art and agree it would be cool to have an armor set with some lore matching these troopers, maybe some Helldivers deployed to a planet, and we're stuck without extract, and we find them with cracked and repaired armor, just a thought. And I just thought that was really cool and wanted to put it in this video. Now, back to the Jetpack Brigade, because the Jetpack troopers have finally returned and in full force. They are super fun to fight against, and obviously that's my opinion. You may feel differently, but I've seen a lot of good comments on the Jetpack Brigade, and I am curious if we could end up seeing some Jetpack Hulks near the end of this major order. I do hope we get some new enemies with Liberty Day coming up, but with that being said, I think a really, really underrated primary weapon on bots in general is the Scythe. Now, notably, there was a change in the last patch to Devastator heads, changing them from light armor to unarmored. And this benefits all light penetrating weapons because they now deal full damage instead of getting that armor penalty. Now, I'm pointing out the Scythe because not only does it kill Devastators in like 1 second of focus fire, like it actually feels like a marksman rifle against them, but it also instantly wipes out jetpacks. If you literally just hover it over the jetpack, they instantly explode. It's super satisfying to pop them out of the air. But if we're talking about the jetpack brigade specifically, the dagger will also do fine in taking care of them. I know everyone's enjoying the Senator right now, and so am I, so that's why I'm recommending the Scythe. But if you're someone who's been enjoying the Purifier more than the Senator, maybe bring the dagger and the Purifier, or bring the Scythe with the Senator. Laser weapons in general are undeniably amazing against the bots just because of all the jetpack troopers flying around. It insta-kills them. And when you blow up one jetpack guy and he ends up blowing up all the small troops near him, those little kill streaks will leave you pretty satisfied. With that being said though, other players have also been really enjoying the Liberator Penetrator Guard Dog as it deals with those jetpack guys rushing at you, but it's also good versus Devastators and Rocket Striders, aiming directly for the Devastator heads and the Strider lug nuts. The Penetrator Guard Dog has some pretty good targeting software and seems to go for weak points. Now, I used this Guard Dog the other day when we were streaming because I was testing out a bunch of the buff stuff. And when it does shoot the bots, it is actually pretty solid, but you know, keep in mind, it only shoots bots that are within range of it. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if it's not for your playstyle, but it is a solid tool when enemies are in that effective range and, well, jetpack guys are rushing us down. It can also shoot bots around corners, and now that you can put it away with your backpack button, if it ends up blasting down a Hulk, just take them out of commission until you deal with that Hulk yourself. All right, so before we get into some tips for dealing with tanks and cannon turrets with explosive radius weapons, which will definitely change the way you play against them, since we were just on the topic of the jetpack grenade, let's talk about this major order, because yesterday they attacked Mater Bay and the majority of players were actually on this planet doing the defense, but it failed anyway. So what gives and why is this happening? Well, if you're using the Helldivers companion app, these defenses are higher level than normal. The bots are sending extra enemies against us. And this note on Helldivers companion says that high level indicates that progress on this planet's defense requires more missions completed compared to a planet with a lower level. The Jetpack Brigade, for lore reasons, I guess is no joke, and this feels like a major order that we are more likely to fail for those who aren't aware of this information. Now, luckily, General Eravin posted this in his YouTube community section, and it says, Helldivers, our efforts on Mater Bay have halted the advance of the Jet Brigade for now. Once our enemy makes a move against Marfark, should the regeneration of Mater Bay fall to 2% or less, do not go to the defense, continue to dive on Mater Bay. Should Mater Bay be taken during their offensive, the attack against Marfark would then be cancelled, and we would only need 40 to 60% of the community to accomplish this. Gambits also count as successful defenses, so the MO will be 1. Now, the bots didn't end up attacking Marfark, they attacked Martel, but the point still stands. With all these high-level bot defenses, we probably aren't going to be able to win one, unless they end up giving us one that's lower level. I think we literally had like 60% of divers on Mater Bay. I don't exactly remember yesterday, but it was a lot of players and we still ended up losing that one. So I think we simply have to go for a Gambit. Now, this defense mission on Martel just popped up. It'll probably be 3 or 4 hours into it by the time I post this video. There is a chance we could pull this Gambit off, but if we want to win this major order, then go back to Mater Bay. If we end up failing this Gambit for Martel, then when the next defense crops up, just go for the Gambit again. Now, the other thing I'd like to bring to your attention is you don't need Helldivers companion app to know how to do a Gambit. Just go to your galactic map on your ship hub, and it'll show you where the defense is originating from. You can see on my map right here, there is arrows pointing to Martel, and it's coming from Mater Bay. Basically, to go for a Gambit, to take down this major order, just go to the planet where the defense is originating from. If we can get enough players to do this, we can automatically win a defense mission. All right, so now for some tips and tricks for taking out cannon turrets and tanks. First up is Shredder tanks. Now, I really enjoy using weapons like the grenade launcher, and it got a splash radius buff 2 patches ago, so I've been looking for spots I can shoot this nade launcher to take out enemies with heat sinks, and I found this spot at the top of the Shredder tank you can shoot at to make this work. Basically, you're aiming for the tops of the front armor, and the splash damage will make it around to the heat sink. Now, this works for anything that has very high splash radius, including stuff like impact grenades or even potentially the purifier. When it comes to annihilator tanks, on the other hand, you pretty much want to use high ground to land the grenade shots on top of the annihilator tank, closer to that heat sink, or if you happen to be around the side, you don't need to shoot the heat sink directly, just very close to it. Otherwise, if it's on the floor, very close range to you, just make it around the back and shoot underneath. And now moving on to cannon turrets, and this one is actually really cool. You can actually land your explosive shots anywhere on the underside of the cannon turrets, as I'm showing in the background. This is very solid for weapons like the grenade launcher, being able to, mow down groups of devastators, but also have some pretty solid game versus tanks and cannon turrets. Now, like I said, this should probably work for any primary with splash radius. I don't have any clips of purifier versus shredder tanks, but I did hop into a game real quick to test out this cannon turret tech with the purifier killing a cannon turret from the front. I'm pretty sure this should work with the Scorcher as well. Someone in the comments, let me know if you end up trying this with the Scorcher, whether it works or not, but just shoot on the underside of the cannon turret, and if you see that you're getting hit markers, keep shooting. All right, so now for some top comments from the last video, and they got a little spicy in the comment section, given it was under the Senator being overpowered and the game too easy crowd. First up from Exiled Exilis, this isn't Arma or Tarkov, this is Helldivers, and right now it's the most fun it's ever been. Now, there's a lot of comparisons with Helldivers to milsim sort of games, and Helldivers does have some milsim elements, like when you reload, you waste the rest of the ammo in your magazine. And I think adding elements like that to this game is cool and can be fun and interesting, and I do think that the devs' original intent was to make more of a milsim game, but they clearly stepped away from that, and it's what made this game more popular in general. Luckily for us, they have definitely taken fun over balance these last two patches with the 60-day plan, and I hope they continue to do that moving forward. All right, so next we got this comment from Dark Colors, and he said, yeah, I just came from a match where like 10 dropships dropped 4 Hulks, 2 Factory Striders, 5 tanks, and an ass load of rocket striders and lagged my ass to death. Game is honestly the best it's been since launch. These people are crazy. And I commented under this one saying, yeah, look at Space Marine 2 listening to the game too easy crowd. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to Space Marine 2, but they're kind of going down the Helldivers route right now, they just did a huge patch yesterday, which got a lot of backlash to the point where Saber has already tweeted that they are going back on the changes and they're doing another patch next week. I think when people started posting Helldivers memes in their subreddit, they got the message loud and clear. If you actually look at a lot of the player bases for these games, someone actually posted a screenshot of the achievements for Space Marine 2, and only 16% of the player base even beat the highest difficulty in the PvE missions. And at the same time as all this, I'm gonna stress, I'm not someone who wants the game to necessarily be easier. I just think that developers need to come up with more interesting ways to make the game difficult but fair, or difficult but interesting, or difficult but still fun. When you end up just like not listening to the player base on a lot of stuff, it kind of bites you in the ass. And again, on the Space Marine 2 thing, people have been begging for bolt gun nerfs, and as a Vanguard player, my bolt carbines are shit, okay? It's the truth. I think if they had buffed just bolt guns alongside the Space Marine 2 patch yesterday, people wouldn't be complaining so much, and Helldivers was in the same situation. Like when they nerfed the Breaker Incendiary, if they had buffed the shit out of the Breaker Spray and Pray in the same patch, then, people would still be upset, but they'd be like, hey, maybe I can at least go try this other weapon. So I really do think that devs just kinda gotta read their player base a bit better and, make better changes, but it is what it is. And then we got this comment from Silly saying, Senator AP4 is based and shouldn't be reverted. Shout out to you, Silly. I agree, because the Senator is the freaking coolest gun in the game. I don't even think it's the most optimal gun to bring in every loadout, but guess what? I don't care. It's the coolest, it's the most fun, it's the most badass, and I'm gonna be bringing it even against the bugs a lot of the time now, even though it's mainly a bot weapon at this point. And that is gonna be it for this video. Be sure to comment down below to get your comment featured in the top comment section. And be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I'll be streaming later on today, and we've got the podcast tomorrow, so be sure to hit the notification bell for when we go live. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.